The Thing from the Grave is a star-studded episode from the creator of two of my favorite movies. Written and directed by Fred Dekker and shot by Alex Nepomniachtchi. Based on a story from Tales from the Crypt, number 22. Dekker's screenplay and direction add some flair to the premise of the comic book, but is it enough to make a fulfilling adaptation? Stacy, played by Terry Hatcher, is a model with an abusive fiancé, Mitch Bruckner, played by Miguel Ferrer. During a shoot, she catches the eye of photographer Devlin Cates, played by Kyle Secor. Devlin can tell that Stacy's fiancé/manager makes her nervous, and politely suggests he takes a break from the shoot. In response, Bruckner puts his anger issues front and center for all to see.
I got an idea. Why don't you take this nice long lens of yours, get it nice and covered with Vaseline, and shove it up your fucking ass! Get some shots the inside of your asshole, hot shot.
While everyone takes a 5, Devlin talks to Stacy and gives her a key to his studio in case she ever needs to get away from the explosive Bruckner. That night, she comes over and the two don't waste any time.
I guess it was pretty forward of me to give you that key, huh?
I guess it was kind of forward of me to use it.
Well, as long as we're being so goddamn forward.
Unbeknownst to the two lovers, Bruckner is outside, spying on them. The comic isn't as detailed in its setup. James and William are in love with the same woman, Laura. Jim is a kind, considerate man. Bill is as angry and jealous as his TV counterpart. And Laura is a little afraid of him. Jim asks Laura to marry him. She's hesitant, concerned about what Bill will do if he finds out. Little do they know that Bill wants Laura so badly, he's willing to kill James to have her. Shortly after Jim and Laura are married, Jim has to go out of town on business. Afraid to be alone in case Bill tries something, she doesn't want Jim to go. But he promises her, no matter where he is, if she is in trouble, he will find her and save her. This promise is more mystical in the show.
An old blind lady gave this to me. She said that it was the Mayan god of truth. And if you make a promise while you're holding it, no matter what, you're gonna keep that promise. It's corny, isn't it?
As he puts the necklace around Stacy's neck, he notices the bruise that Bruckner gave her. She cries that she's afraid of what Bruckner will do if she leaves him. Devlin holds the pendant and promises, no matter what, he will be there for her to protect her.
I promise.
The next day, Devlin receives a call from Bruckner, saying that Stacy is at their cabin and needs Devlin's help.
Hello.
Cates,
Yeah.
this is Bruckner. Look, I know everything, all right? Don't ask me how, it's not important. What is important is that she's in trouble.
What kind of trouble?
Shut up, okay? We had a fight. She went to our cabin. Look, she doesn't want to see my face. She won't accept my help. But maybe she'll listen to you.
Where is she?
Driving late at night, our protagonist in both versions slams on his brakes to keep from hitting a man in the middle of the road. Of course, that man is none other than his romantic adversary. In the comic, Jim is literally stabbed in the back. In the show, Bruckner shoots Devlin after giving him a little speech.
Fuck it.
Both of our leads are buried deep in the woods, but not too far from the cabin. It's been days since our leading lady has heard from her love. The villain of our tale tries to convince her that he has found some other girl to run off with, but she remains convinced that something terrible has happened. In the comic, Laura claims that she will wait forever for James to come back if she has to. William realizes he's killed James for nothing. He confesses the homicide to Laura and declares that if he can't have her, he will make sure nobody else can. In the show, Stacy is put off by Bruckner's attempts to make her forget about Devlin. She goes to the studio and finds that his answering machine recorded the phone call between the two men. Bruckner is right behind her and subdues her. William kidnaps Laura and takes her to the cabin in the woods near where he buried James. He locks her in a windowless room and plans to set the cabin on fire with her inside. In the show, Bruckner ties Stacy to a bed in their cabin, and instead of setting the cabin on fire, he has other plans.
Just because it's over doesn't mean we can't have a little fun first.
Help! Help!
The damsel in distress screams as hard as she can. Her cries echo through the woods. Her dead lover's hand reaches out from the ground. This thing from the grave brings itself to its legs and walks towards the scream. Meanwhile, Bill has set fire to the cabin. Laura begs for James to save her as she passes out from the smoke. And that's when Bill sees him, the decayed James lurching into the cabin and then emerging from the fire, carrying an unconscious Laura. Bill runs into the woods, screaming. After setting Laura down, the rotting Jim sets his sights on the cowering criminal. Bill trips and falls into Jim's open grave, breaking his leg. Jim joins him in the hole and gathers the dirt around them. Bill screams for his life, but it doesn't take long for James to bury them both. Eventually, the screaming stops. The ending is where the episode falls flat for me. Stacy is able to free herself from the ropes. Her remaining awake and not trapped in a cabin that will eviscerate her lessens the tension. The zombified Devlin chases Bruckner into the woods, like in the comic. And we do get a little extra violence. Bruckner shoots Devlin in the face, followed by Devlin chopping off Bruckner's fingers with a shovel after he falls into the grave. We are at the height of the climax. Devlin is in mid-burial, pulling the dirt over himself and the evil Bruckner. And then the screen cuts to a photo of Stacy, and that's all, folks. Compared to the comic, which shows us all the way through to William's suffocation, the show feels incomplete. The Thing from the Grave is a mostly faithful adaptation of the comic. The added backstory of the affair and magic necklace help fill out the first half. The supermodel and photographer elements also create some opportunities for the visuals to truly shine. It's a good-looking episode about good-looking people. All three leads are good in their roles, especially Miguel Ferrer, but the screenplay prevents him from having the chemistry he needs with his co-stars. Terry Hatcher is there mostly to be eye candy, and Kyle Secor does what he can with the rushed romance before being murdered. There's also a weird flashback structure where the episode begins with the murder and then shows us everything before. I'm not really sure what we were supposed to gain from that, other than just starting where things get interesting.
I feel like, we should start our stories where they begin.
The original 1950s comic book story is simple but effective. A handful of pages with an ending that will linger in your brain as it forces you to imagine the cruel William running out of air underneath the dirt. Considering how much I love Fred Decker's work, and even the 2 previous episodes of Tales from the Crypt he's written, The Thing from the Grave can be buried alive.
Right, now, not yet!